And a very good morning to you. It is Rhema Brekky on your Tuesday morning. Mick Wright in the chair with you through until 9 o'clock this morning. Great to have your company. Joined on the line by a very, very special guest this morning from Compassion Australia. We are speaking to Jono Kirk. Jono, good morning to you, mate.
Good morning, Mick. It's great to be with you and your listeners this morning.
Not a problem, mate. I'm so glad you could take some time out of your fairly busy schedule, I'll imagine, too, with Compassion Australia. Plenty of things going on with you guys, but particularly the reason why we're talking to you this morning today is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Now, that is what you would call a monumental task, but it does start with just, I guess, one step at a time. Mate, can you talk to us a little bit about where we're at globally in terms of the eradication of extreme poverty?
Yeah, I can. Look, it is a monumental task. It is a really special and a really significant day today. Happens on October 17th every year. Globally, back in 2016, actually, the United Nations committed to a 2030 agenda for sustainable development, which was ending poverty in all its forms as its top goal. And unfortunately, we're currently off track. The UN projects that we'll have 575 million people living in extreme poverty by the year 2030, which is kind of a confronting kind of statistic to hear this morning, but it's a statistic we need to take notice of.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, there's probably a whole lot of reasons that go in there for that, but you know, why do things seem to be going backwards in some areas of the world?
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID-19 dealt the biggest setback to global poverty that we've seen in decades. And we've seen rising food and energy prices here in Australia, but that has been true all around the world. And so because of these factors, we're right in the middle of a global food crisis right now. In the past year, 345 million people have been facing acute food insecurity. That kind of means the lack of food that they have access to is putting their lives at risk.
I mean, those are some staggering amounts of people when you think about it. I mean, you can't even really get your head around those kind of numbers. Is the eradication of extreme poverty, is it still possible?
It's a good question. It is. But to answer it well, we probably need to dig deeper into what poverty is and its causes. It can be examined through that financial and economical lens, but it's also caused by systemic issues in government, culture, and historical events, education, and available opportunities. Yeah. And we at Compassion, we approach poverty through this holistic lens because it's so complex and multifaceted. Eradicating poverty will take everyone working together, but it's also God's work. If I can tell you about Noreen from Uganda, she grew up in poverty and she works today as a senior manager for Compassion Uganda, and she says it like this: I actually believe we can't eradicate poverty on our own, but we do have the power. We do know somebody with the power to do that, and that's God. Yeah. God works through people, and so we can be the vessel that God uses to eradicate poverty. And I tend to agree with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what does it look like, I guess, with boots on the ground for the guys from Compassion when they go into these areas? What are some of the things that they're faced with? And I guess what are some of the resources they've got at their fingertips to be able to help in this kind of ongoing struggle?
Yeah, it's a great question. 9 of the countries, I mentioned 345 million people have faced acute food insecurity. 9 of the countries Compassion works in have been severely affected. So countries like Burkina Faso, Uganda, and some of our closest neighbours in Sri Lanka. For over 70 years, we've focused on releasing one child from poverty at a time. So we've been working with our local church partners who have been ensuring families receive food packs and are set up with sustainable long-term sources of food. And our local church partners are on the ground. They are tailoring solutions based on the countries and the context they work in. And ultimately, it's locals that are going to leave lasting change. I love to say it this way. Compassion was there prior to the food crisis through the local churches, and the local church will be there well beyond Compassion as well. And so we're working on the ground through the generous support of people in Australia and through the local church in these countries.
Yeah, amazing. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the program this morning, and we're praying for you guys, and just really want to see that God multiply the great work that Compassion Australia does, and we will definitely get you back on the Brekky program at some point in the future, maybe just to do a bit of a recap about how the day unfolded as well.
Sounds great, Mick. I'd love to join you guys again.
No worries, Jono. You hold the line there, mate. I'll get back to you very, very shortly. That's Jono Kirk there from Compassion Australia. Stay with us. This is Rhema Brekky on your Tuesday morning. More to come after this.